Hello everyone. Please excuse the amateur nature of this video. I'm not normally a YouTuber, but I came up with something, an idea today, which I thought was cool enough that it might help someone else out there. So I thought I'd record what I did and share it in case it's useful. So this came up because I was servicing the shock on my mountain bike and I'd never actually done this before, but I thought it was about time I learned. And it turns out it's not that difficult to do. But all the videos that tell you how to service your shock have the mounting hardware removed. And you need to be able to take that mounting hardware off so that you can get the sleeve of the air can off to clean and replace the seals and so forth. So this mounting hardware has a couple of little plastic bushings, I guess, on there. But then there's this metal bit here that needs to be pressed out. And most people will not have the specialist tools to press these sorts of things out. So I had to come up with an easy way of doing this. Obviously you don't want to start beating it with a hammer because it's your shock and you don't want to break anything, scratch anything, dent anything. The one lucky thing that I do have is a bearing press kit. And this is not essential, but if you are going to change bearings on your mountain bike, I reckon it's well worth buying one of these on, say, Amazon, something like that. These are the key bits from the bearing kit that you need. And you actually don't even need to own a bearing press kit to get these bits. If you think about it, you could go to your local hardware store and get a piece of threaded rod, and then you just need a couple of washers and a couple of nuts, and you could use a couple of spanners to tighten the nuts in to make your own bearing press. However, what I have here is a set that I bought on something like Amazon or eBay or something like that. And it's perfectly adequate for doing, I've used it for doing bottom brackets. So if you've got a press fit bottom bracket, all my frame bearings as well. So I just actually replaced all the linkage pivots in my rear suspension, and that's all running really smoothly again now as well. So probably worth having something like that. But if you don't, that's not critical. All you need is something approximating this, which you can get from, as I said, hardware store, piece of threaded rod, and then some big washers and some nuts and a couple of spanners, and you'll be set. What you do need, as I discovered, I was looking around in the shed for something that I could use to press that, and what I came up with is the tip of a caulking gun. So you would have seen lots of things like silicone sealant, liquid nails and stuff come in these from the hardware, and in the same aisle where you get these, or perhaps at the front, they have loads and loads of spare tips. And that is actually all you need to make the press pieces for getting the mounting hardware out of here. And I'm going to show you how. So what I might do is angle this down so you can see what I'm doing down here. Much prettier look. You can tell I just serviced my shock because I've managed to get spots of suspension oil all over my t-shirt, which was not very clever. So what you need to do, if you can see this properly, is take the tip of your caulking gun tip and roughly measure out the length of the mounting hardware piece. Say about there. And simply get a nice sharp knife and chop that right there. I'm just doing this on a cutting board so I don't cut into my dining table. So you want that cut to be reasonably square. And what's nice about this now is that this end that normally threads onto the tube of silicone or whatever it is actually fairly thick and solid. And so now what we can do is basically use this as a sleeve to press this piece into. So what I'll do, I think, is spin this around this way. So that's just the right size. You can see where we're going with this now. I'm actually going to use, no, that'll be okay. I might use an extra spacer here just to give myself a little bit of working room. That's just from my kit. But basically now if you spin this down, you can now start pressing. It doesn't take much force. Is that going to fit? Yeah, that is going to fit. Start pressing that through until it's flush. So at this point, you've pressed it halfway through, but not all the way through. So I'll show you where we're up to. I'll take this back apart. So we've now got that most of the way out, as you can see there, but it's flush at this end and we still have to push it through the thickness of this. So at this point, you now take the remaining tip of your caulking gun that we chopped off before, and we're going to use that to push this the rest of the way through. So I'm going to chop this. I want it to be just the right thickness that it's going to sit in that piece. So I think if I put that in, I'm trying to remember exactly how I did this. I think if I mark that there, we'll give this a go. Chop off that tip. Hopefully that still gives me enough caulking gun material. Will this pass all the way through that? Ooh, almost, but not quite. So I need to chop a little bit more off so that my threaded rod can actually go through that. Yep, that's going to work. Perfect. And now I can push that through there like that. So you can see I've got the narrow tip, which is going to fit. I'm going to press on that. And then I've got this sleeve here so that I've got something to press this metal piece into. So then again, I'm going to spin my other end on. You can see the advantage of having the bearing press. These are really cheap. I can't remember. I bought this on either Amazon or eBay. If you hunt around, they're all pretty straightforward. So here we are. I'm now going to squeeze this in. And you can see it's now pushing that metal bit the rest of the way through. There we are, done. So there it is. I've just removed my shock mounting hardware. You can see that's looking nice and clean because I did actually just have it out while I serviced the shock, did the air can service, and I cleaned that and put a little bit of leftover grease on that just to make it easy to slide in and out of the bushing. But if you can see there, there's the metal bushing. Obviously, there's lots of videos about these bushings and if they're worn and being careful to keep them clean and blah, blah, blah. If you actually need to replace that bushing itself, I think that's a different matter, and I probably wouldn't try and do that with the tip of a plastic caulking gun. That's probably more of a bike shop job. But in terms of just getting this piece in and out, it seems pretty straightforward. And likewise, there we are. I can actually get that the first part of the way back in just by hand. But then again, to push that back in the right distance, I can then just go back to the pieces that I had before. I thread that through there. I can then use the larger piece from the caulking gun there and press this back in nicely. And the only trick will be getting it to the right distance, which is a little bit tricky, but I should be able to gauge it by using this, one of the, I don't know what you call these things, it's kind of a washer, I guess. This plastic, it's almost there. That looks like it's about the right distance. Obviously you can play with this a little bit. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be about right. But if you're off by a little bit, you can obviously press it around. And actually, what we'll do is we'll put those pieces on, and then that'll let us see whether we line them up nicely. That looks pretty much bang on actually in terms of the positioning of that tube. But obviously if it's off a little bit, you can very simply straighten it up again with the press. So that's my little trick for removing shock mounting hardware if you need to, so you can service your own air can. And I would encourage everyone, I didn't service my own fork or shock for a long time because I thought it was going to be too complicated. It always seemed like a bit of a black box. And once you actually watch some videos on how to do it, it's really pretty easy. And it's a really valuable thing to do as well because suspension is expensive, and being able to open it up and clean it and lube it regularly will just keep it running better and make it last longer than if you just let all the dust and crap accumulate in there. So easy thing to do without any special tools, apart from maybe a strap wrench, which again I just bought from the hardware shop. But in terms of removing the mounting hardware, that's my new trick. So I hope that was helpful for you. And like I said, just wanted to stick that up on YouTube in case it helps someone else.